What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffeez for Closers, where success is served daily. In today's episode, we're going to walk through a journey of an entrepreneur who turned a passion into a massive household brand. Starting from humble beginnings, our guest now boasts over 100 locations across the country, from California to Florida and even Saudi Arabia. Get ready to hear from the mastermind behind Ike's Sandwiches. Some of the best sandwiches you've ever had in your life. The one, the only Ike. First off, I never knew Ike was real, right? A lot of people, we met the guy from Travis Matthew or Tommy Bahama, and it's always a fictitious character behind the brand. But Ike is really Ike, and not only is Ike really Ike, but the logo of Ike is Ike. So it's amazing. I was like starstruck yesterday. I'm like, that's Ike. That really is Ike.
Well, thank you.
Super cool. And it's super cool that, we related on a cultural level as well. So it's like, it was just destiny that we got to meet and to hang out, and you're super cool. And you immediately agreed to come to the show. And I was just, I'm truly honored. I'm blessed to have you here. So thank you for popping in.
I appreciate you having me. You're welcome. Thank you.
Now, many people want to know, where did the vision of Ike Sandwiches start? Like, how did you start this whole thing?
Well, which part? Because as you know, with any journey, it's what part do you want to know about?
Well, before I dive into the vision of Ike, I like to start every podcast with the same question. What is Ike's morning routine?
My morning routine. Oh man. So 90% of the time, maybe even more, I look at the clock and I set my alarm for 8 hours after whatever the time on the clock is before I go to bed. So I set it for 8 hours.
Guaranteed. So you sleep 8 hours.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I'm blessed in that unless I schedule something, I don't have to be anywhere at any time. So that's the first thing. Let's say 90% of the time. This morning I had a shoot with David Melzer, and that had a specific call time. And unfortunately for me, it wasn't 8 hours from when I went to bed. So, but for the most part, I could do however I want to do it. Then I wake up, make sure there isn't any emergencies on my phone. Usually the emergencies are on emergency breakthrough. So I will have been awoken if there was. And
do you have an emergency breakthrough on your phone?
Yeah, some people have access to me, even if my phone's off. I mean, I think it's a common thing, right? Emergency breakthrough. And then after that, I do my morning routine is I do 50 burpees, 50 push-ups all in a row, 50 burpees, then 50 push-ups, do some ab work. Is that just your only workout? Do you do additional working out besides that? It depends where I'm at. If I'm by a gym, I'll do that whole workout, but in the gym, and then throw some weights around as well. If I'm in a hotel room like I was this morning, it's gonna be push-ups, burpees, and some lunges and some ab work. Total time 20 minutes, maybe 25 if I'm slow or lagging or tired or whatever. And so I automatically start my day with I'm like, I already won. Not that doing what I just said is a huge thing, but for me, it's I don't have to worry about, I didn't get a chance to work out yet today.
Yeah.
It's not I lost track of the day. Normally I like to do multiple workouts in a day. As long as I get the first one out of the way, then it there's no pressure on me to do it later. And if the cards are in it, I go and do another workout. And then after that, fix myself up. Sometimes I got to shave my head. Sometimes I got to shave my face, shower.
You got to look the part of Ike.
And then if there's nothing for me to go to, then I don't go. I think then that's when I'm getting in my phone, returning texts that are not emergencies, get on social media, respond to comments there. I eat usually between 1 and 3, like my first meal.
So you're intermittent fasting though. So you haven't eaten yet?
Not yet. Oh,
cool. I got meal preps for you once you're done.
Yeah. I've had some folks were having little samples of this new product. They have some beef jerky type thing.
Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, I had a package of that.
I'm excited.
This is my first meal of the day.
Did you have it black? All black?
No, you had dirty chai, and it's a little dirty.
Yeah, we have the dirty chai lattes too. Yeah.
Normally I'm not a caffeine enthusiast. Just when I was a kid, I didn't realize I was addicted, and I was like, oh, I'm never going to be addicted. I'm totally addicted to a lot of other things. Just caffeine's not one of them.
Yeah. Love it. So now we'll dive into the vision of Ike's. So what year did you start Ike's?
Open Halloween 2007, October 31st, 2007.
And it started as Ike Sandwiches. That was an original name. Hasn't changed.
Ike's Place. It was Ike's, and then we were a full cafe when I first opened. We had a full espresso bar, full, like everything, whatever you can get. In fact, I had more than what you could have gotten at a Starbucks or a Pete's. We had, this is in 2007. I had rice milk, soy milk, macadamia nut milk, almond milk, regular milk, low-fat milk, non-fat milks. I'd opened with 7 different milks, and mainly because I was like, well, what if you can't have soy? What if you can't have nuts? Then I had the rice milk. And so I just wanted to make sure that anybody that came in would have that. And then I did breakfast, full breakfast menu, sandwiches, obviously, salads.
Man, you got to bring Ike's Place back.
I'm working on one. I can't say where because it's a surprise, but I'm working on one right now that'll be a sit-down version of Ike's with some items. I can talk about the items. The items would be my breakfast menu is coming back.
Oh,
I'll have a specialized coffee menu, but instead, because I'm not a big caffeine enthusiast, I'm going to do all those. I'm going to have my own mushroom coffee blend. So there'll be coffee in there, but also the mushroom stuff. And then kind of functional elixirs for breakfast and for, say, like instead of a bar, it'll be functional elixirs. So non-alcoholic, but all with functionality.
That's awesome.
You might get high off of them, but it won't be alcohol. And then we'll also have alcohol too for the regular old person that wants alcohol, and caffeine for the regular person that wants caffeine.
Yeah, well, these that sounds like that concept in 2007. That's just like breakthrough in 2024, 2025. So to do that in 2007, like you're a true visionary as a restaurateur. And I don't know how did you get that sort of vision for, a sandwich spot? You have the biggest menu in the space. Like,
I don't think there's anybody that has a larger menu than me.
There's not even like in a restaurant. A regular restaurant doesn't have
Cheesecake Factory, and you see their menu.
Yeah, it's overwhelming for people like you. Like, you just broke it down though, and you simplified it. But like, how did you get so many ideas for sandwiches?
It all stems from, and this is something that anybody can do in whatever their line of work is it all stemmed from me focusing on what do I like and what's the reason why I was doing it. So not just what I like, which is food and to eat, but how come. And it was to feed people, to create memories on a table, and to be creative in the kitchen. So if you combine all three of those things, for me, I was like, okay, well, I want you to want to come to me for breakfast. I want you to come to me when you don't want breakfast, so you wanted coffee. I want you to come for me when you want lunch. I want you to come to me when you want dinner, and I want you to come in when you want dessert. Or if you don't want any of those things, which is why I'm adding the elixirs at the end. And obviously people drink coffee all times a day. So it stemmed from that. When I opened up my first Ike's, which was a full cafe, I didn't know, because I didn't have any experience, that you're not supposed to have a million different things and do all these things. I just thought, I can make breakfast, I can make coffee, I can make dessert, I can make salads, I can make sandwiches. So why not do all those things? And in fact, all of my beginning mentors that were all in the restaurant space that had way more locations than I back then, and a lot of them now with 3,000 or so locations, they were like, well, what are you doing? Kind of thing. And I'm like, well, I just didn't know any better, because it was only about feeding people, creating memories, and being creative. So obviously that's going to lend to a longer menu and a larger menu too. And so it's all about that. Whatever it is that you love to do, if you only do those things for the reasons that you want to do them, and only focus on those, whatever those are, whether it's 5 reasons, 5 things, then it doesn't matter what you do, even if it's crazy to do it. You're likely going to be successful in that area because, well, you'll want to do it, and you have a why for why you want to do it.
It's incredible that you've really managed to bring a whole new element to the sandwich space, and it's inspirational because you really brought in your vision, which to many people, I'm sure, was contested. Like, you were like, people were like, what are you thinking? Right? How did you deal with that backlash when people you would explain your vision?
Well, I'll say that I learned when I was younger, and by younger I mean like 12, 13, 14, that people are going to talk smack about you if you don't do something, and they're going to talk smack about you if you do something. So if they're going to talk smack no matter what, and I would use a cuss word, no matter what, if they're going to do that no matter what, you might as well do stuff, because they'll be like, oh, you're a punk, you didn't do it, or you're scared, you didn't, whatever they're going to say. Or if you're going to go do it, you're a clown, you think you're better than everybody, like some people say about me now. So it's the same kinds of criticism. I just, now they say that and I'm doing what I love to do, versus the other way, me worrying about what people are going to say and then me not doing what I want to do. So that was the first realization that I had when I was really young, and I'm blessed, I guess. I had a lot of detractors back when I was younger. And then, but when I was specifically to Ike's, when I was like, hey, I took my ideas and I thought to myself, I should open up a cafe. And I started telling people, say in my family or my friends, oh, that's stupid. Restaurants go out of business. Oh, you should be in the best, like especially for our culture and probably a lot of cultures. You went to school. You should do what, fill in the blank, whatever you did. Or the only approved
engineer,
yeah,
doctor,
lawyer, whatever.
That's it. That's the only,
right?
Maybe,
here and there, right? And so for me, I just was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this because I want to. My life up until that point was unsuccessful financially, but also unsuccessful from a happiness factor. Like I was doing things that I didn't enjoy doing, and I was also not making money. So that's probably the worst place to be. And probably most people that are listening to this aren't in that space, but we know people, and we've definitely been into a place where you're not making money and you're not doing what you like to do. So that's the crappiest life I know possible. That's where I was. And I said, well, okay, if I'm not going to make money, if everybody is right and it's not going to be successful, at least I'm going to be doing what I like to do, which is better. If I'm not going to make money, I'd rather do what I want to do and not make money than do what I don't want to do and not make money. So I just stopped talking about it. If I knew that so-and-so family member or so-and-so friend is going to be like, oh, that's a dumb idea, after they said it one time, I just shut up. I had prominent family members of mine give me a call. I ended up in the newspaper like 4 or 5 months in to Ike's, maybe 6. Lots of newspapers, lots of articles. Hey, I read about this. Like, that's you? When did you do? Why did you open up? Like, when did this happen? And I was just like, remember, I told you, say a year ago, I was going to do this, and you said it was dumb. Yeah, that's why I didn't tell you that I did it. So I have very prominent family members and friends that found out about it through the media, through social media. My gosh, you're doing a restaurant? And back then it was more like a cafe than a sandwich place. And so I was like, yeah, I did. And obviously at that point they weren't talking smack if they're reading about me in the newspaper. So then it turned into, no, I didn't say that. Obviously.
What'd you go to school for?
Computer science and engineering.
Oh, wow. How did your parents take it when you told them, Mom, Dad, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go put everything I have on the table and be an entrepreneur?
Well, so my mom was actually the one who gave me the money for the first one. So that's how she responded.
Oh, that's good. Moms are always the best.
Yeah. And then my dad was like, well,
it's Arab dads that have the problem.
Yeah. So not that he had an issue with it. He was just more like, well, are you sure? Like he wanted me to be smart about it. And I'm thinking it's a freaking restaurant. I don't think there's anything, no offense to anybody, but like if you're getting into the restaurant business and you don't want to do it, that's an idiotic thing, no matter how smart you are about it. And so I figured that out. Just living my life is the things that I like to do, even in the jobs that I had that I didn't like, I did anyway, even though maybe I wasn't going to be rewarded for it. Often I was rewarded for it. And I was able to link that to, okay, well, if I just do these things, I'll do it. So I was like, oh, I wasn't looking for smart eyes on my project. I'm just going to open up a restaurant and kind of do what I love to do. And I assumed that that is better than doing not what I love for not money. So that's basically my dad. And then my mom was like, here's money.
Now, one thing I really want to ask you, because I was actually talking to this with the CEO of Wahoo's yesterday. It's like, we're in California. We're dealing with random labor lawsuits, margin compression, insane minimum wage, and you're still delivering deliciousness and variety for a very cheap price. Like your sandwiches are very inexpensive,
especially for California.
For California, like in the Midwest, I mean, they're probably the same price, but still like very reasonable and a big portion. how are you still able to maintain such profitability and expand and do it at those prices in this current environment with in extreme margin compression?
Oh, it starts with, well, first of all, we're probably seeing less of a percentage of profit. And actually, I want to talk about this real quick. Often I see, especially on social media and probably on the platform we're talking on right now, so like, everybody's at record profits and whatever. Hey, think about it. If I made $1 more than last year, and last year was my record, I made record profits. But it sounds like I'm a trillionaire because this company's making record profits and that company's making record profits. Take that out of the equation. Also add in, say if everybody has a certain percentage they want to make, whatever percentages you make on you want to make, meal I want to make. If everything goes up in price and I'm still only making, say, 8% or 10% or even 20%, 20% of a bigger number is going to be a bigger number just because that's what mathematics is. But it doesn't mean we're making record profits. It's just what happens when prices go up is everybody makes more. And so I want to take that into like common lexicon, realize what it is when people are framing things. But first of all, I think we're making less as a percentage of profit. But how we're doing it, we've just been doing it for so long that we've been able to negotiate great pricing with our vendors. We've been doing it so long. We have great goodwill with people that they're willing to pay the prices that we're charging. And then the same with the staff. The people really love the product that work with us. So they're able to put out a great product, and all that put together kind of helps us so that we can expand. So I can open up in, say, a brand new city like Houston, which we did a couple of years ago, and even Salt Lake City, which we did a couple of years ago, Vegas, all these places is where people have heard of Ike's. So it allows us to expand in a less than risky way. It's not guaranteed, though it's less than risky when we open a location in Austin and half of California moved to Austin. So if anything, maybe the bad prices here in California forced everybody to go to Austin, and then they know about Ike's in Austin because they're all Californians, so to speak.
Now, your parents, are they entrepreneurs? Did they run their own business?
My father did, yeah.
So, okay. So at what age did you realize that you're going to be an entrepreneur?
So I've been going with my father was in the supermarket business. He owned, I don't know, 4 to 6 supermarkets and then got into real estate. But he, like, where I saw him work was the supermarkets. And I remember sitting on the counter and like watching people count money. And like, oh, that guy is giving my dad money. I want to be like, oh, money. I knew I was young enough to sit on the counter, but old enough to know, oh, that stuff buys me like this toy or whatever it was that was high in my values back then. And then I started bagging the groceries for my dad, and I started, oh, I want to take their money and count the change. And so learning stuff like that. I don't know what age that was, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably
it's just in the Arabs genes, basically. You're like, I was born an entrepreneur.
Yeah, essentially. And then one of the other things that I saw through my father doing that, because I probably only went in like 5% of the days that he worked, is that he went every day. He went there when he was sick. He went there when there was good stuff going on. And he went there when there was bad stuff going on. He went there when there was problems at home. He went there when there was not problems at home. So I learned to show up every single day by watching my father do it as an example. And sure, perhaps like, oh, he had to support his family. Still, people don't show up even in those scenarios, or they complain about it in those scenarios, even though they, quote, have to do it, kind of thing. So I learned about that stuff from my father.
So
watching him work.
You would say that the biggest source of inspiration and motivation from you stems from your father and his work ethic? That's where you think you learned it?
Well, that's where I got my work ethic from.
Yeah.
I show up to work. The only days I don't go is like when I'm doing stuff like this. Although,
well, this is work.
Probably work, right? People will hear this and everything like that.
This is marketing Ike's.
I'm often on planes, like 3 or 4 a week. And invariably, I'm traveling and the person picks me up like, oh, are you coming? Are you going? We have that conversation. Oh, is it for fun or is it for work? And for me, my work is fun. I wouldn't get on 4 planes a week and sometimes more if I didn't enjoy doing that. I can delegate the flying on planes part or whatever those things out to someone else if I didn't want to do that. We're at that position where I don't have to do those if I don't want to. So for me, it's doing it, but also on the days where, oh man, this task needs to be me to be the one to do it, but I don't feel like it, or I'm tired, or whatever happens, something's going on in my life. Like, I'm just going to go do it, because I always feel better after doing something that's uncomfortable, instead of waiting and lagging on it, or delegating those tasks out that need to be me, which aren't a lot. So for me, it's all of that stuff rolled up through the package of, this is what I want to be doing, and this is how I want to be doing it, like the reasons why I want to do this, and all that in one package becomes, holy crap, you're Ike from Ike's, like kind of how your reaction was, or the other people in this office's reaction was. And that's not what I set out to do. It's just how I'm doing it through all the entrepreneurial and love aspects and inspiration aspects.
Yeah, and it does help that the logo is your face.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah. So you're asking about the logo. I think that's how we started a long time ago in this part. So eventually, I got people were, who's Ike? Who's Ike? Who's Ike? And we'd have 3-hour wait, and people were doing all these things. I'm running around passing out sandwiches, and like, hey,
you had a 3-hour wait for Ike's Cafe?
The first one, we had 3-hour. Within 6 months, we had 3-hour waits. It was like we went viral before being viral was a thing, because Instagram didn't exist back then, and TikTok certainly didn't exist back then. It was basically Twitter and MySpace. Facebook was kind of coming up, and it was more like we got social media back when it was the newspaper. So I'd be in articles all the time. I'd be doing live TV interviews where it'd be like Jack Dorsey right before me, and then me, and then someone like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever would be one of the guests, but me being.
But you got to hang out with these people because you're in the Bay, and you had the hottest restaurant in the Bay.
Yes.
So you got to meet everybody in Silicon Valley.
90% of whoever since that CEO, founder, whatever, I have fed them.
Yeah.
Probably even more that I don't even know about.
And that's the beautiful thing about being a restaurateur, and like you get to hang out with everybody
everybody eats.
Yeah, everybody eats.
Athletes to the CEO.
So you fed Steph Curry, you fed Mark Zuckerberg, you fed everybody who's anybody in the Bay.
Anybody who's anybody, and some that I don't even know that I fed.
Yeah. And everybody loves good food, and you have everything under the sun in terms of good food.
Yeah. If they eat sandwiches, I've fed them in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think if they've eaten sandwiches, most people listening to the show, you've fed.
Yeah. Thank you too for everybody who is a fan of Ike's and has eaten it. And if you're not a fan, I still love you.
Yeah. But if you're not a fan and you haven't eaten Ike's, like,
probably wrong.
Yeah. You need to try it. Like, go eat there. Now let me ask you, what are some of the hardships, the biggest hardships you dealt with when you started Ike's?
So most of the first Ike's infamously got closed down because we didn't have permit for selling sandwiches. Apparently you need a specific permit to sell sandwiches in that neighborhood in San Francisco. I'd say from the day I opened till today, the number one issue is the government permitting. This part of the government you need this permit, you need these kind of things, you need these people to say hi, yes, check.
Sounds just like my business.
So and it's I recall, and this is way before we were famous and way before the rest of the government got in and shut us down. Like the Supreme Court of California is like, don't sell any more sandwiches, that's it, otherwise you're going to go to jail. Is that I remember putting up a sign on my window because I got all these permits. Like I needed the fire permit. I need all these permits. Got all these permits. They don't talk to each other. One. And I remember I had to put a sign. I had to close one day because I had to go to City Hall and get some permit that somebody said that I needed. And back then I was the only one that worked there. So I remember writing a note saying, sorry, the man said I had to go in and get permission to do whatever it was. I don't recall what it was, but I remember putting that on the window, like me being actually upset that it closed my business and walk over there and get something that they wanted me to say that I needed to do to stay open. And that was like the first month I was open. And I remember crying in my car, like, what the hell is going on? Why can't I just sell sandwiches? And I remember just sitting in the car, listening to some music and gathering myself and just I had to take the day off because I had to go into the city and get some stuff. And so since that day, literally the first month in till the city shut me down in 2010 till now when I want to open up in this city or that city, the only biggest, I don't want to say the only issue. The biggest issue is, please let me open up a sandwich shop in this place. Please, please, pretty please. Can we do this? How about this? Can I get this signature and that signature? That's the number one issue. And I think a lot of times that's going to be a lot for a lot of people. The same exact answer. The biggest issue is going to be the regulation. So it's how you deal with that, how you set yourself up so that whatever it is, it's an issue in your field. Like I'm sure you got a lot of things covered, even though it may take extra time because you have to jump through this or do that. And so setting yourself up so that happens, so you can just go out and do what you love to do or what you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, you're in a hyper regulated space. And now how are you dealing with all the regulation as you expand in all the different states?
Well, a lot of states are different. And heck, a lot of counties are different. I remember it took us 3 years to get a permit, 2+ years to get a permit in San Francisco because we were a chain now and you needed a conditional use permit. Even though I start like to move across the street, I wanted to open up across the street and they're like, you can't, you're a chain. What do you mean? But I'm here. I can be here, but I can't be over there. Yes, you can't. So we had to get a permit that took 2 years. Same exact time period. I put in a permit to get something in Oakland, and this was in the 2012. At the time, they were small business. We opened in 45 days after getting the space. 45 days or 2 years. It took me 2 years.
Certain cities just want franchises there.
States and things like that. So now as we're expanding, there's some places like, no, we want people to open. So here's some over-the-counter
incentives or anything?
Ways to get them. Like you just come in and be like, hey, I want to open up the sandwich shop, and they have somebody there, stamp. And the thing is, they can do that anytime they want with anything that they want. Literally any county, any city can do that anytime they want with anything that you want. You know, how do I know that? Because you're telling me that Oakland is that much different than San Francisco. I can do it in 45 days in Oakland, but 2 years in San Francisco. The answer is no. The answer is somebody said you can't do it in San Francisco, and that's why it took 2 years. You don't even have to use, and those cities are really close to each other. And then somebody in Texas, you can go right now and get your permit. You go like, hey, I want to open up a sandwich shop in this address. They're like, boom. Why can't they do that everywhere?
Yeah. Well,
get the health inspector to come in, get the fire inspector to come in, get the whoever to come in, all the health and safety stuff. But we all know that stuff doesn't take that long. They'll come in and they'll say, yes, this is not a fire hazard. Go. But it's usually the permission to do things. And I feel like that is artificially put in place. I use it as a test from the universe. Like back then, like, do I really want to do this? If I do, I'll put up with this BS. If not, then I won't. And maybe that's the reason why it is, like, not why the cities do it. They do it because they make up that they need to do it. But I mean, the reason why the universe puts that in front of you, or God or Mother Nature, whatever you want to believe in, puts that in front of you is so
what does they got here?
Prove to yourself. Well, some people might not. I'm down with God. To prove to yourself and God that you want to do it. Because if you're like, oh man, it's such a pain, I'm not going to do it, then that means you wouldn't have done it anyway. You would have just quit at the first sign of drawback. You'd be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, and you'd quit.
What is the easiest city you've dealt with so far?
So far, well, that one in Oakland was pretty easy.
Sounds because some cities are just paying you now to just come open business, because some cities are just totally deprived and they want chains to come in.
There are times where we'll reach out and like, hey, we want to open here, and we'll literally message the mayor's office, and they're like, yes, please. Those have been, and that's been, it's been a lot of places like that, like probably 20 something places we hit up the mayor's office and they're like, yes, please open here. What do you need from us?
Yeah. And even paying you to come in, like, we'll front you.
I've found the city. I don't want to talk smack about the city. So there was a city that offered me $300,000 to open up in an area, part of the city that they were attempting to economically revive.
Yeah.
And after looking into it, 300,000, that's not a joke. It was a grant or whatever that you wouldn't have to pay back. And I looked at the area and I go, actually, if you want me to come here, it's going to be more like 750,000 for me to do it, based on the area and the lack of opportunity in the area, how much is going to cost to redevelop the space, all that stuff. Like $300,000, I was like, No,
That's
that'd
not
be
gonna do
me doing
nothing.
it for free. For that space, obviously, if the Oakland location gave me 300 grand, I would have done it in a heartbeat because I would have done it for
But
no
the
money.
demand in Oakland
Yeah.
is so high, and housing and affordability. These
So
people,
I have, and my experience is every time a city is offered to give me money,
it's usually a
it's
bad sign.
deal. Yeah, like why? Because that doesn't make sense. Why would you want to give me money? Like they did the math and they're like, okay, if we do this, we're gonna do well on it. So I'd say,
I mean, but just simple economics says just because if it's dependent, population growth is happening at such a rapid speed that Ike's will eventually work.
Yeah.
Will it work this year? Maybe not. Will it work in 3 years? Probably. Just because we are getting populated, and especially any city in California.
And yeah, this was a city in California. I would.
Is that city still is that city still terrible now? If you look back and go
today, this was in like 2010-ish, maybe 2012.
That city's probably booming now.
So this city is still it's a world famous city, obviously, and that same exact spot that they were offering me 300,000 for, I still wouldn't do it.
Really?
Even though it's been 10 years. Yeah.
You still wouldn't do it?
Not in that part where they wanted me to be. Yeah.
Oh wow. So then you. Okay, well, then you were right.
Just keep in mind, California did kind of get a lot of areas did kind of get killed by COVID and not even by COVID, more like the COVID policy, where literally areas of cities were shut down, and they still haven't revived. And in a lot of areas, not everywhere.
You opened the Ike's near me in Tustin during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, so how much did COVID impact your business?
We were lucky in that DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmate, all these like companies that you'd maybe even never heard of. We launched on those back when we were the preeminent sandwich place in San Francisco, one of the top ones in LA, but for sure in the Bay Area. And so all these, when they were becoming ideas, they're like, hey, Ike, come on our platform. We do this. And I remember back then, I'm like, you should pay me to be on these. And so we did actually get paid to be on a lot of these platforms that now it's the opposite where people have to pay to be on them. And then so we were blessed in that we already had delivery capabilities. We've already been on all those DoorDash, Uber, and all the other ones.
I mean, you were rubbing elbows with their owners, the CEOs of all these
thrown out of a few of their
parties
places. Yeah, we've had some disputes here or there. And some of these places, they have conference rooms named after the business Ike's. So we have got a lot of pros and cons where people are coming over my house and then being like, what the hell, so we got some nitty gritty. Like one day it'll be a book and they'll be like, oh, this person and this person and that person. But we launched with all these things. So when with COVID, what happened is, well, we were already on every single delivery platform and we had been on there for 5, 6, 8 years, some of them. So we already had high placement, high reviews. And when it became natural for people to order from their phone, it was just, we kind of were able to, we did have more sales during COVID than we did the years before.
Wow. You scaled during COVID in the restaurant space?
We opened locations during COVID. Obviously, profitability came down because costs you didn't know one day something was going to be there, or we had to not have chicken for a week or roast beef or whatever it was. So there was difficulties, but we actually had higher sales year over year through COVID. Probably because we were already on all these. We already had an app. So we were set in place. But this is back before places had apps. This is back before.
Yeah, you were tech forward before tech forward was a thing in the restaurant space.
Yeah, we had an app since 2010. So that's how long ago we've had an app. We were just able to adapt and make our app better once COVID and stuff happened. And then keep in mind, DoorDash and all that stuff, they were way less of a percentage of businesses than they were during COVID, which was like 100% of most people's businesses were that during COVID.
So do we have the ability to order Ike's from the Ike's app directly?
Yeah, and
delivered?
Get delivered. Yep. You can.
So you have drivers
right here.
So we'll save money. We'll save
You'll save all the fees. I don't know if they want me to say that. It's cheaper if you get delivery on my app than whatever app you're using, even if they're giving you VIP.
That's great to know.
Yeah. So go to Ike's sandwiches.com and find somebody. Hopefully somebody's close enough to deliver to you.
Yeah. So from Tustin, what's this? Yeah, I'm just asking for the office.
Yeah. Well, there's Costa Mesa. There's Tustin. There's
you have
Newport.
One in Costa Mesa too, and
so
Newport.
I'm sure all those. Yeah. When I was Googling earlier from my hotel, I'm like, I always like to do that. Where am I? Where's an Ike's? And I pull up the map and it's like, there was 3 of them within 20 minutes from my hotel. I was staying in Costa Mesa. So for me, it's like, oh, look, there's 4 here. So because I get obviously free Ikes, right? So if I'm like, I want to get food delivered to me, like, let me just check it out. And yeah, they all 4 delivered to my hotel. So that I was close enough for all of them to deliver to where I was.
So there's delivery. So you have cars for every Ike's?
It's through a third-party service, but yeah.
That's pretty cool. I did not know I'd save the delivery fee. That's great to know.
Well, it depends on where you're at. The delivery may still be there, but there's not that spread on the price.
Yeah.
You know how
it's about a 15, it's a 15-20% spread.
And then also we mark up the food as well.
Oh wow, significant savings.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
And then you also get rewards. There's going to be like, oh my God, you want to teach? Like, we're doing crazy stuff. We did a thing. We're probably going to bring it back. Spoiler alert, guys. You will order, and if I'm in your town and I'm at the store, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to personally deliver it instead of having the third party be like, let me roll up.
You're going to personally?
I'll be like, hey, how are you doing? And then, yeah. We're going to do a few of those. We did that a long time ago.
That's going to be some good content.
I just show up and be like, hey, what's up? And you're like, oh my God, Ike. And I'm like, here's a $100 gift card. Thank you for your order.
Where are you going to do that?
Oh, it's going to be dependent on where I'm, like, if I'm traveling in.
Yeah. We should have done it here while you're here today.
We don't have it set up yet. Right now, man. We have to find a way for us to cancel the driver. Because once you order, the driver gets kind of like if you ordered a car, the driver gets booked. So we need to find a way to deliver it without. We'll figure it out.
Multiple spoiler alerts for people who like now. I saved everybody who's listening right now 20% on their food.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, like 20%. You guys are all getting and they're getting rewards because you don't get the rewards through Uber.
You can only get through me. And
then the possibility, possibility Ike's gonna deliver your food to you.
So if you follow me on Instagram, you're like, oh, Ike is in, say, Costa Mesa. Well, he might bring me my food and then do the order. And heck, who knows? Sometimes I do like 3 of them in a day. Sometimes I do 10 of them in a day. Sometimes I'm like, oh, not that guy again. I'm not gonna go to his. You know,
that's so cool, man. What a cool job. Yeah. Now the restaurant business is a very risky business. So, is there a specific skill or mindset that someone's got to have right now to succeed in the restaurant space?
Well, for any space. So like I started, if you want to get in the restaurant space, when I talk to entrepreneurs, food entrepreneurs specifically, I go, how come you want to do this? And they'll say whatever they want to say. If they don't say, I want to feed people or I want to make people happy, I'm like, don't do it. Not that there's no money in the restaurant game. It's just going to be a lot of headache. And you're not going to want to do that stuff. So unless you love cooking, you love feeding people, then there's no reason to get in the food space. Absolutely at all. It doesn't matter how amazing your recipe is. If you don't care about making food, then you shouldn't sell food. You should be like, hey, I have a recipe, and find somebody else that likes to make food and license your recipe. There's ways to make money in the restaurant business without you being a restaurant operator. So for me, I didn't give up. When I sold nothing on the first day, I didn't give up when I wasn't making anything and couldn't pay myself for 2 years. The reason why I did it is because I wanted to feed people and I wanted to be creative and make new menu items. And I wanted to do all those things. And if I had 3-hour waits and I still wasn't making any money, like, do you imagine working that hard 7 days a week and then at the end of the day having like $1,000 for the whole month at the end of the month? No, absolutely not. But I would have done it for free. Literally, I would have done it for free because I did it for free for 2 years. Yeah. Nobody can say that I wouldn't do it because I have proof that I would. And because I would do it for free is why I'm successful. Because most people will quit when they're not making money. If it's like, you're going to work every single day for a month and I'll give you $1,000, maybe you'll do it for 1 month if you needed the money. But after 2 years, you'd be like, I'm quit. I need to do something else. You can literally make more money doing anything else. And so that's basically the formula. If you want to feed people, you will feed them, and then you'll make money because you want to feed them, and because you want to feed them, you'll feed them better than other people can feed them, and then hopefully your food also tastes good.
That's incredible advice, especially for those who are like, man, I can't do this anymore. Like, you got to do it out of love. You got to do it from the heart.
Yeah, that's anything. It's not just food, but whatever it is that you're doing. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. Grew up in Silicon Valley, and somebody's like, hey, what about this app? Okay, why do you want to do it? And if they don't say, I want to connect people, whatever their app is, I'm like, no, I'm not going to invest in you. And no, I don't even want to, like, I can't help you. Because if you're looking at it and you don't want to do whatever the thing is, you're going to quit tomorrow. You're going to quit when there's no money in 6 months, or when you burn all your, your burn rate or whatever's gone, then you're going to quit. And it's not a good investment. No matter how good the idea is, you just need to find somebody that wants to do it for it to be successful. That's the key. Somebody that wants to do it. And by want, I mean having the desire from within, that's what it is that they care about.
Now, that leads me into this question. I guess you kind of answered as, after all the success you've had, hundreds of Ikes, and you continue to scale, and you don't really need to grind like as hard as you grind. Like Ike himself delivering the sandwich, that's insane, right? But you're doing it, and you're doing it with a humble heart. After all this continual success, how do you find your motivation? How do you continue to find this motivation?
I think this is where the myth stands. I don't need to be motivated to come up with a new sandwich. I don't need to be motivated to feed people. I don't need to be motivated to, if I'm at the store and somebody looks like they're confused, to get up, like I'm playing on my phone or I'm on a call, hold on, and let me go and let me walk them through the menu. I don't need to be motivated to do that. I do it because I want to. And a lot of folks out there, so I don't like motivational speakers, because anybody can say something and then you get rah-rahed up for a little bit. I'd like to be internally transformed, internally inspired. And so for me, in fact, if I have to motivate myself to do anything, I literally don't do it, because then one day I'll stop doing it. So I would just delegate that out. So it's a trick question, or a trick answer is, I'm not motivated at all to do it. I do it because motivation doesn't even come into play.
Love that. Now, and I guess, that's kind of like your why too.